So basically why I wanted to actually do this podcast is because coronavirus is a pandemic of its own, but there's a lot of people that don't want to come out their houses anymore. It's people that are very scared of something that we don't know of. So I know the news talks about it, but I wanted to make people aware of what's going on in the world, because when I Instacart with my boyfriend, there's people that don't want to come outside. There's people that barely want you to come to their door, and I don't feel like that's normal anymore in life. But what is normal anymore? Like, for months we've been going through wearing face masks, social distancing, but my issue is they don't talk about the recoveries. They talk about the deaths and who's caught it. So I wanted to make people aware of what's false when it comes to COVID-19 and what is facts and what you can do to prevent it.
Okay. So basically, I mean, the stuff that I've heard, and and first of all, I've been working out in this since day one, since this whole thing broke. I mean, I was one of the lucky ones that actually, didn't get to work from home. I mean, my wife, they sent all their employees and they got to work from home. My job, unfortunately, I guess was considered essential. So we had to go into work every day. But the thing is, I deal with drivers who go out in the field and are going to grocery stores and are going to speedways and mom and pop stores and stuff. So they're around people all day, and then they come back to the plant and they have to check in with us and stuff and give us their money. So
right,
it can be scary on one hand, because you don't know where they've been and you don't know who they've been around. But that's in general, really, when it comes to this whole thing, because this is not your typical virus. This is a virus that we've never experienced before in our lifetime. So no one knows how to really react to it or how to overcome from it. I mean, I know in our family alone, we've lost two people from it. From my wife's extended family, we've lost two people from it. I mean, there's been a few that actually had it as well that recovered. But it's one of those things where you don't know, and you don't know who to believe at the same time. When it comes to, I mean, you try to listen to the doctors and the experts and stuff, because they're the ones that are supposed to know about it. But it's still kind of scary. So
it's very scary, because I was on bed rest, I think, when they had the first case, and they said the first case was in December. So in February, I was on bed rest, and that's when I started hearing all these cases that were starting to happen. Now, like you said, you had an essential job, but when I worked at Barnes & Noble, unfortunately, they had to shut us down because that's not really an essential job. So it was for a while kind of like, I would say, kind of financially hurting me, because being on bed rest for a couple of weeks and then going back to work for only 2 weeks, and then you're shut down, it kind of confused me for a moment, because like you said, we don't know about it. I just know it's an airborne disease that is in the air, is what I've been told from the news and people that work in the hospitals that I know. So I know the government doesn't want to shut down the state, but if there's more cases, are they only not shutting down the state because, financially will hurt us, or is he trying to protect us from this virus? I mean, I get very confused with the government, because I don't really understand what their angle is at this point in time. Like you said, you lost people to the coronavirus, and I've lost a couple people that's had this COVID, and I've been tested 7 times for it and been still negative. So I don't know, because it's supposed to attack people like myself that has known health issues, or people that are elder, but there's been people that have died of it for no health issues at all. So that to me is scary.
If I may, I don't want to take over the conversation, but here's one thing that I think is missing me, and I'm not saying on purpose or whatever, but I've been saying this quite often to the various opinions and whatnot regarding the whole pandemic. I believe that we're in a situation that really nobody, no generations have ever experienced before. And I think the one of the main issues is grasping hold of the situation and being able to work through, solutions and all that. And oftentimes it feels like everybody has an opinion on how things will work, which that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I'm a believer in, I've been using the phrasing, we have to be like Jello mold, being able to work and flow with, maybe one remedy starts to look like it's working, and then all of a sudden there's a glitch or whatever. Okay, that's okay. We move on. We try to work through it to get past this problem. And I think my wife and I both had the virus back in April. And we were on self-quarantine for well over a month. And she tested positive. I was presumed to have it because there was just the two of us in our house. And I had symptoms. The thing too with the virus is it doesn't affect everybody the same. We had our daughter's family, or when she was a kid, her doctor, I can't think of the proper name or whatever, but
Pediatrician.
thank you. Her pediatrician caught the virus, and he was, quote unquote, on his deathbed, and he survived. But there was people reaching out on Facebook, praying and all that for him, and he's okay now. But he had it, and I had it, but in totally different scenarios. I mean, for me, combing my hair, which there's little of anyway, but just to comb my hair felt so tiring that I would be like, I need a nap. So for me, the different symptoms affected me differently from other people, or even death in the family. And the thing with that is, I just think that oftentimes people are missing the boat, if you will, in regards to it's not going to be the same for everybody. Brian was in the workforce. I was not. However, I teach, I guess you'd call it retired from work full time or whatever. I've had 2 strokes in the last 5 years, and I'm still able to compete and train and teach karate. And I've been very fortunate about that. With that said, once the virus hit and all the everything, and I know this applies for everybody, but for me, it was a struggle mentally because everything came to a halt. We canceled 5 vacation trips for the whole summer and fall. I had to close my karate school, and not train. And that was very hard for me mentally, because when we were okay, my wife would make a trip to, Walmart or whatever, and she'd tell me stories. And one of them I remember very well. She put her mask on, went into the store, and right before she got into the store, an older man in a motorized cart, not wearing a mask, had laughed at her and said, "Why are you wearing a mask?" And when she told me that, I, in my own mind at that time, was like, I would have went and punched the guy in the mouth, because I think my lack of the training and my everyday normal life was done, and there too, wherever I go in public, I wear a mask. If I go to the store, I wear a mask, and all I do is when I walk out is take it off once I'm out the door, because I'm not within a confined space. Yep. And the mask issue is a topic that I try to avoid talking about with anybody, because I'm not saying it's a choice. I've spoken with some people about it. I personally will wear the mask when I'm in a store or wherever, because I had the virus. B, I don't want anybody else to go through what I went through or worse. You know, my thought process is let's just put the brakes on from our normal lives and work together to jello mold through this till they are able to find a complete cure, et cetera, you know, and this whole pandemic is everybody, I think, needs to start realizing it's not going to affect everybody the same way. You know, it's kind of like snowflakes. All are similar, but there are slight differences. That wasn't too bad, only 3.5 minutes.
It's not, no, that was not that. But I actually have to agree with something that you said, because you said that there was a man that laughed at your wife because she was wearing a mask. I can name probably on my hands and toes how many times I've been laughed at. Before it was mandatory to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And I, like I said, never had the virus, and I always feel very sympathetic and bad when people get the virus and survive from it. And you know, they have their own testimony, but I always get frustrated. Like, why are you laughing?
Yeah.
Like, why is it funny? Like, this is something, even if you don't believe there's a coronavirus, because at first I didn't believe it. I was like, whatever, there's no virus out there. And then I started realizing that people are getting sick and people close to me were getting sick. Then I was like, let me take it a little bit more seriously. But like you said, we have to, as one, take it seriously. But there's people that don't take it seriously. There's young people that will walk out right now with no mask on. And it's like this virus is almost like, I hate to say this, like a bullet. It has no name on it. You can get the virus no matter how old you are, no matter who you are, and how safe you are. So I still get laughed at every time I wear my mask, because I'll wear my mask and people outside be like, mask.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm immune to it. It's like, yeah, okay.
Well, I think for the longest time, especially when it came to the young people, since
I do want to get a mask.
It was out there that they weren't really, they weren't part of that list of people that could get it. The problem is now you're starting to see younger people getting it more. And especially with the coming into August, when we're getting back into kids going back to school and school districts trying to decide how they want to do it. Now, most school districts have decided to start learning remotely at the beginning of the school year. Other school districts are giving that option that you can either do it do it remotely, or you can actually go to school, and be with a teacher. We have chosen to leave our daughter at home and do it remotely. Many reasons, because first of all, we have my oldest daughter has asthma. She is a high risk person. So I can't have my youngest not saying that my youngest isn't a risk either. Not saying any of us aren't a risk. Everybody is a risk. But if my youngest goes to school and then comes home and is around somebody who has it and may not be confirmed yet, and then brings it home to us, it could affect her sister. So it's better not to be put in that situation to begin with. So the fact that we have that option is great. And that's what, I'm glad that schools are allowing that, even though, it's not going away. I mean, there's so many things out there, like they said a few months ago, that, once the weather gets warmer, it's just like the flu, it'll go away. No, it hasn't. Mm-hmm. This is completely different than the flu. It may have the same symptoms as the flu, but first of all, it sticks around a lot longer than the flu does. Because
that's the false thing that people say. They say that's the one thing I'm glad you pointed out, Brian, that's false information.
Yeah.
Because you heard in the news, hey, hot weather kills it, and then you see more cases the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Because it's because it's warmer out. Restrictions are there, but people aren't abiding by them. So they're going out in more numbers, and that's what it's affected. Because you look at when Florida opened up. Florida and Texas, 2 states, you look at those 2 states, when they opened back up, people flocked to the beaches. And then like a week or 2 later, at least half of those people had COVID. So it's like it wasn't going away. And now I think Texas I know California has closed back down. They just recently closed back down. I believe Florida and Texas are kind of on the verge. I think Texas has closed a lot of places down, and I think Florida's kind of up in the air. But it's still there. I mean, until the vaccine has been, which it has been tested. I mean, at Oxford, they're testing this vaccine out. It's supposed to be, I don't know when it's supposed to be coming out. But it seems to be working. So once that, they're still looking at by early part of next year before this even is out to the public and being used. So it's just.
I think Florida, because when I see on the news, some restaurants have gotten shut down. I didn't know Texas was on a shutdown because according to someone, what they told me, and I don't really believe half the things people tell me, they said Texas didn't have a shutdown. California is unfortunately shut down again after they had more cases, but that kind of bothers me because it's like Florida, Texas, and California are the most hot states, and Florida has had more unemployment, than us. Like their unemployment is very high. So I thought that, and a lot of people were saying this when this virus was happening, that Florida, Texas, and California would be the places that didn't have the virus, but they're having the virus more. But of course, because there's beaches and people are not, like you said, abiding by the 6 feet rule. There's people out in my neighborhood that walk in groups of 20 or more and have parties with a lot of people, and it's like that's exactly how you get the virus. Like, you don't know where these people have been. You don't know if they've been around somebody that's had the virus. But I have my own health issues. I have lung cancer stage 1, so I always have to make sure I'm taking care of myself and I'm wearing my mask to my appointments wherever I go because I have children. So I don't want to infect them because they're forced to, and I don't, don't want to risk me being around them as much.
Yeah.
And then give that to them. And it's very hard for me. Like you said you mentally went through it because, your studio you had to shut your studio down and you were quarantined. Me, it was hard because their dad had the kids more than I did. And due to my health issues, I didn't want to risk me going up to the store or anything else. And I was working at a Walgreens at the time. I didn't want to risk being around other people and give my kids that. And that really mentally messed with me for a while. It really did because I seen my kids for a while. And yes, I video chat them and I called them, but there's a difference between seeing them face to face. Like their dad had them more, and he still does have them more than me now.
Yeah.
Just for safety reasons, because if I were to get sick, it could harm me and it could harm my children and him. So, it's been very hard though. It's been very hard. Thank God for therapy. But the reason why I wanted to make people aware is because people say that it's not real, and it's like, but it is real.
Like someone put out there.
Probably death all the time.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Someone actually put a tweet out there last week that this is the biggest scam in their lifetime, and I looked at it and I go, "Where's the scam if people are dying?" I don't understand that. Just like we said earlier, just because it hasn't physically affected you in any way possible at all, doesn't mean that it's not there. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't just wear a mask. If you go out, you're going. I mean, and that's the thing that doesn't make sense to me is for so long before they mandatory everything, when stuff was closed down, you were allowed to go out. They weren't putting you on lockdown at your house saying you couldn't leave your house, or if you were out on the road, you were going to get pulled over by a cop and get a ticket. You were allowed to go out, just wear a mask. That's all they were saying.
Yeah. You were shut down, and we were quarantined, but like you said, we weren't on the shutdown.
Yeah.
You were able to still go out, and police were not going to stop you because you're out walking during the quarantine. They would just advise you not to be out at a certain time, but there was not a time where they were like, freeze, we're going to arrest you for being out of quarantine. Yeah. But it was messing with a lot of people's heads. I've talked to a lot of people where they said that, they got stopped by police because they were driving. I said impossible, because I was driving out at night once and never got stopped. For just driving during quarantine, but it messed with their heads. So I feel like when things started opening back up, people lost their minds. Because I think on the news there was a restaurant in Shortmore where they had gotten a citation because people weren't practicing social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized when I was working at Barnes and Noble, I said, yeah, people are going to lose their minds because once people feel trapped in a cage or their houses or whatever you want to call it, once you have some freedom, they go crazy, especially with like, even though this is kind of irrelevant to the topic, but kind of relevant, even when we had the protesting, people weren't practicing social distancing then. And those people that did protest, more than half of them got the virus.
Yeah.
I had a friend that protested like I did, but I kept my distance. But she always said, it's hard to keep your distance when you're protesting. I'm like, not when there's a virus out there that can kill you.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask, though, from what you heard on the news, what do you know about the virus that's kind of helpful to people that I guess need to know about this virus a little bit more?
Yeah, that's the thing. In the last 3 or 4 months, I'm sorry, Tommy K. I didn't mean to, I know you wanted to say
That's
something.
fine.
It's changed. I mean, and that's the thing, because again, when it comes to what you hear on the news, where they're getting their information from, and even though they're having, governors and the president were having these briefings every day for COVID, and the doctors were talking, again, it kept changing because no one really knows, this is something that we haven't, as I said earlier, that we've had in our lifetime. This is a virus that's affecting more people than anything else that I can think of in our lifetime. But it's harder. I mean, you kind of have to take everything kind of with a grain of salt, but at the same time, you have to kind of be diligent on what they're saying and abide by, the rules of not only what the states are saying, but what the businesses are saying. Because yes, it's there. They're saying that you have to wear a mask when you go in. Just wear your mask. You got to think about these people that work at these places. They have to have that mask on for 8 or 9 hours a day without really taking it off. So if they have to wear it all day, just wear yours for the 20, 40 minutes that you're in the store to get what you need. And then once you leave, you could take it off. So anyway.
I think this is a time. I'm not out to trying to make statements. I'm not going to make a sign or anything like that, because as Brian knows me, I struggle with my words, but I believe this is a time where it's not about arguing. We all have our rights. Citizens have their rights. I'm not denying that. This is not a time right now for argument. I think back to when 9/11 happened. I remember watching the television and seeing, the tower hit, and I thought, 9 a.m, why are they playing Die Hard? That's what I thought. And then to hear Tom Brokaw, and then it hit me. It's like, wow. And so from there, you saw, and I know it was just isolated for the United States, if you will, but you saw unity among American citizens. You saw the flags being raised everywhere, a sense of unity, or better said, teamwork. Everybody united to stand up for the situation, whatever the case, to stand up for the situation as one, to try and get past it, or to better ourselves. I feel that's kind of what this is, but it's on a worldwide level. And again, I'm not trying to argue with anybody or but it's a time where we got to set the argumentation to the side for now and be like Jello Mold. Let the people doing the research, with the remedies or whatever the case, find it. And while they're doing that, if everybody could just take the precautionary steps. I'd like to get a mask and just write courtesy.
Yeah.
A courtesy mask. It's not a statement. It's not anything but just that, to be courteous of fellow man. You know, let's just do that so that we can move forward instead of, the argumentation of whatever, and we do have the right to protest and all that. And I get that. I understand that. We all have our opinions and everything like that. But I just strongly feel like now is not the time to stand up and say, well, I'm an American. I have the free choice to not wear a mask or whatever the case. Let's just be courteous. That's all it is, without a wide right or a wide left portion of the scale, if you will. Just let's work together like 9/11.
Right. But I have a strong feeling because on Facebook there's a lot of people that post when this must be like ended. I think people are so, how to say the word? They're so, I guess, rushing for this to be a cure after the news said that it'll take a year or two. So everybody is panicking and like, I want it to be over now.
Yeah.
So that's why they're not being unified. It bothers me because it's like, we have to get through this together. It just can't be with this person, that person doing that.
Yeah.
So I get it because there's a lot of people that tell me like, I want this to be over. I'm like, it would be over if we all just work together. Like you said, unified.
Yeah.
Like, it's mandatory now for people to wear a mask everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Like, they won't let you enter. And I've had a friend that literally went off on a worker because of it. And I said, well, how are you going off on a worker? Because you're mandatory to have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
At my old job, we sold people masks for free if you couldn't afford a mask.
Yeah.
People didn't argue with us about the mask at all, because they knew it was for just their safety and our safety. So it bothered me that she had the nerve to argue. And it's like, you have to be considerate of everybody around you. Now, I have forgotten my mask one time before, but, a person knew that I was just by myself. So they let me into the building. That was probably like the only time that I ever did, like, not have my mask. But anytime, I always have either one of the blue masks or my backup mask or my regular mask. I wear my black one. But I just don't understand why you can't have courtesy to other people. Like I said before, people are so much in rushing to have a normal life. Like a year ago, life was normal. You can go outside. There's people outside. But I guess now everybody's just so depressed and stressed out. Like the other day when I went Instacarting with my boyfriend, we dropped these women's groceries off, and she said she's been quarantined in her house for 90 days. And she's so scared to go outside. And she said once this hit, she couldn't go outside. She doesn't want to. She wants to stay in her apartment. She's very scared, and you could just see how shooken up she was, and how she thanked us for going outside throughout this pandemic. She said, I just can't see how you guys do it, but God bless you. Just that makes me kind of scared, because it's like there's a lot of people that are very frightened for their lives.
Yeah.
And there's people that are hiding in their apartment, which I was told by a friend, hiding in your apartment for so long, going outside, you could get the virus because you have to be immune to it, according to what my friend told me, because her husband works with this kind of things.
Yeah.
And she's told me other things that I wish I would have heard, what they do to the bodies afterwards. Because I think they have to separate the hospitals from people that are quarantined, right, versus regular patients.
Yeah.
I know they said they have to like get rid of those bodies, but it's kind of disturbing. Like the death rate is over, I think, 1,000. I think the last time I checked, it was either 1,000 or over 2,000. I hope that's not the case. But in the past, I think when did this started in December? I think since December, there's been a lot of death rates at a lot of it. There was a 2-month-old that passed away due to this.
Mm.
And people have their own theories. They feel like, people are injecting corona inside you. People feel like this is another thing for, Donald Trump. Don't know if that's the case. But what is happening, is that this is still happening. Like, there's a lot of cases in Franklin County that have this virus. That was the reason why, I guess, the governor I think, believe 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
came and made a statement, and everybody was clutching their pearls, like, oh, is it going to shut down again? Like, he doesn't want to shut it down. And I believe because of finances, because we're
Yeah.
really, hurting financially. That's another thing I wanted to talk about, because working at the mall, there's malls that are shut down.
Mhm.
There's people that have businesses that are shut down because they couldn't afford to pay for, the restaurants. So in my opinion, or in y'all guys' opinion, what does the future look like financially after this is over?
It's going to be, I think it's going to be a rebuilding. It's almost like a rebuilding, because you have so many businesses that have had to close down, after being off for the couple months when everything was closed down to begin with. And, when they open back up, especially restaurant, luckily a lot of the restaurants, not all of them, but a lot of them, if they were able to do deliveries or do stuff like that where they were still able to serve the customer, that helped them at least sustain for this time. The thing is, at some point, it's going to take a while for a lot of people, like your normal amount of people, to get back to these places, and be able to get into the regular or their old routine. I mean, this whole Corona thing has opened up so much for a lot. Like I said, my wife works at home now. They have all their employees working from home. They made that mandatory. It's until for future. This isn't just something that once this is all done, they can go back to the offices. No, they're working from home moving forward. So it's changing business, and so I mean, it's even changing like for our show and stuff. I mean, we used to be in a studio, the three of us, for when we do our show. Now we're doing it over Zoom. So we're in different locations. That's what a lot of I mean, Zoom became the big. I mean, I don't know how long Zoom has been out, but once this happened, Zoom picked up. Teams picked up. Google Meeting or Hangouts picked. All this stuff picked up because people had to find a way to still run their business without without losing customers or losing anything. Now the actual business themselves, unfortunately, some of them have to file for bankruptcy or permanent close it because they just can't move forward. So it's gonna be a long road. And the thing is, and I'll let you talk here in a second, Tommy K. I'm sorry. The government's gonna have to step in again, and they're gonna have to help these businesses out. And I know they're in the process of coming up with another stimulus type check or budget or something, and they're not sure. They're talking back and forth because I've heard like 3 or 4 different bills that they're working on. So I'm not sure exactly what the plan is, and we'll find out once they decide to roll it out. But anyway,
they're supposed to be deciding by August 7th, is what the news said when I looked this morning.
Yeah.
Because they're torn between another, I think, $1,200 check or more. I believe the government wants to give out money, but not too much money. But this stimulus check they claim is going to benefit everybody. So I would hope that, because the government, like I said, the economy is probably worse than the Great Depression, according to what the government said. It's really bad.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I know that you wanted to say something, but
I just wanted to say, you asked, what do you foresee, in the future or whatever. I like to use movie quotes oftentimes when I'm talking about things, and movie quotes often will enhance my point. The movie Gross Anatomy. He Joe, the one actor, says, "Tomorrow's tomorrow." He's at medical school. His classmates are like constantly in the books and doing projects, blah, blah, blah. And Joe would have a basketball and say, tomorrow's tomorrow. Meaning, and it's reflective in the Bible in Matthew. Today, today is today, tomorrow's tomorrow. Worry about what's in front of you. I know I'm paraphrasing her, but take it a step at a time. yes, it's important to plan for future and all those things, but we're in that situation where it's like, okay, we have an obstacle. Oh, I'm getting to say it's like in karate, but there is an obstacle in front of us. And like I teach my students, you have to find a way to take another angle to get past that obstacle. And it may take a couple angles or whatever you want to call it, but the patience is so important. If people can just take that moment to take the deep breath, if you will, to calm themselves, things will work out. Use your resources, have the patience, put your trust in God. I'll say that because it's so, we can't let this pandemic rule our minds and our lives. Yes, it's an obstacle without question, but it's an obstacle that if we come together as a team, we can overcome it. With all team members ready to play, if you will. So, go team.
I will want to ask you a question though, because I don't know. It is a podcast, and I know some such topics are touchy. But could you tell everybody your experience when you quarantine yourself and you had the virus? Because a lot of people need to know you get this virus. Like you said, other people have reactions to it, but they could be the reality, especially if they don't take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Our quarantine with my wife and I was, we were in the front room of our house watching TV. We have one of those big couches, and we'd sleep on the couch. We'd do things around, like we did a few projects here and there, but it was difficult. Like I said, the fatigue factor or whatever. But fortunately, we had friends and relatives that would, message and say, hey, do you need something from the grocery or anything like that? And, there were a few times like I could go for a hamburger from McDonald's, or whatever, and they'd run to McDonald's and get it.
Mm.
For people, if people should, I hope nobody does get, the virus, but should they experience it, reach out. There are people willing to reach out, friends, family, all that, quote unquote, take advantage of it. Meaning, if I give you an example, many moons ago, I tore my Achilles tendon playing basketball, and I'm in church one Sunday, and a friend had come up and said, hey, Tom, I'd be willing to mow your grass for you. Pride got the best of me at that moment because I said, no, I'll be all right. And then I looked down at my leg in the cast while I'm standing on crutches, and I'm like, what am I saying? And I said, of course you can mow my grass. It was pride getting the best of me. It was a blessing for me that he would do that. And it was a blessing for him to be able to help somebody out. So take advantage of those moments if someone offers or there too. Just, I'm and Brian can attest to this, that I'm very much an extrovert, and
Yeah.
people have the introvert personalities. Or with that said, don't be afraid to reach out to other people for help, because you may need it, you may not, but if you do, don't be afraid or hesitate to reach out to others for even just to get a pack of toilet paper or whatever.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're all on the same team, whether we're in the United States, Italy, wherever, because this is a worldwide situation.
It is.
We're all on the same team.
Did you, because on the news they say that the virus will go away in 14 days, but you said you quarantined yourself for how long?
To be honest, I can't recall. But I basically, I think when everything started, it was like, I think on my birthday of March 12th, when it was, state of Ohio is shut down, blah, blah, we can't do this. That was depressing in itself. It's my birthday and I can't go out or whatever. But from then till I want to say like 1st of June, I was pretty much at home. I was not working. I mean, I have not been working at a full-time job or whatever. Teaching martial arts was, but that was shut down. So I didn't have any reason to really go out, nor did my wife. She's a school teacher, so she did have to do in-home working with the students, on the computer for the last couple of weeks at school, but otherwise we just stayed home, and I guess that was probably our best medicine. Just even if we were 14 days, we went well past it, and it just curtailed it, I guess. Yeah, there's a fear of course, you could be fearful of getting it again, but when we worry, that worry is getting the best. That worry is running the person's life when they let that worry, get the best of them. Yes, it's in the back of my mind, about getting it again, or even I said I've had 2 strokes. I'm fearful of having a 3rd one and losing my speech or my communication abilities. That's a fear, but I don't let it run my life. I
Right.
still do whatever, just like this pandemic. Yes, it's okay to worry about it, but don't let it run your life. The woman that you mentioned earlier about that has stayed in the house and said, I don't know how you guys can do it, but God bless. Hey, that's a choice, and that's okay if she wants to. I hope she does reach out to receive help or, groceries or whatever the case, and that's fine. It's a choice, but don't let it get the best of you. Someday, hopefully soon, we'll all be able to get back to somewhat of a normal life, to at least establish a new trend or a new road or path, to get by in our life versus, it's like kind of like a tornado. The path is ripped through our whole lives. And so now we have to just start rebuilding in whatever shape or form. So,
Yeah. So, Brian, I will ask you this. Do you think, and I can ask you this too, do you think that this COVID-19, once it ends, whenever it ends, it will teach people the appreciation of what life was before the virus? Because a lot of people say you don't appreciate something until it's gone. Do you feel like people start appreciating life a lot more?
I think it will. I mean, people will appreciate when they're able to do normal things without feeling like they're on lockdown. Like I said, the one thing with this whole pandemic is it has opened a lot of doors for a lot of people to to learn how to do new things. I mean, education wise, a lot of people were able, because of COVID, a lot of schools or master classes, stuff like that, were giving free, you were able to take classes for free. Why this was going on, because a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people, so but once this is over, people are going to appreciate what happened before the pandemic. But I think at the same time, it'll make I think it'll make everybody better. I'm hoping make everybody better.
I mean, we all have to have hope.
Yeah, I mean, if people can look past this once it's over and just realize that, hey, we made it. We've been through this. Yes, there's a lot of negative that went into it, but there's a lot of positive that comes out of it as well. And that's how you have to look at it. There's always 2 sides, positive and negative. Which one do you really want to look at? Which one do you want to go by? I want to go by the positive. The negative sucks.
It does. And something that you said that you can't let this overcome you. And I've seen a lot of people it overcome, and I see people like whatever. But you can't, and this is what I told the lady. I said, one day you're going to step out to your apartment and you're going to walk by faith. I said, because how do you know I'm not scared when I go outside? I need to go outside, hours later, go to the grocery store. And as much pain as I'm in right now due to my kidneys, which I really won't talk about that, I'm scared to go outside. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, is the day I get the virus? But I have to walk by faith. I have to walk by knowing that God, I mean, I have cancer for God's sakes, and I walk by faith every day with the medication and everything I go through. So you have to. I told her, I said, one day you're just gonna be like, you wasted. I wouldn't say wasted, but you spent, 90 days quarantine, and you never know what's gonna happen the next day, and you need to enjoy life. I don't care how bad the pandemic is getting. One thing it's taught me is to live every moment in life and learn something new. I've learned to read again. I've learned to record again. I'm podcasting again. I probably wouldn't have done that if this shutdown didn't happen, because people are so focused on the outside, they don't see what's in the inside. Like, they don't see, how to, I guess, have fun inside your home. But I'm a home person anyway, so I think the quarantine didn't really change anything because I stay at home. Yeah. Besides working and seeing my kids and spending time with, my significant other, I don't really do too much. So it didn't really change me in my life.
And you really hit home there with that, because it's about loved ones. My parents, being in their mid 80s, are still around, and I appreciate that once this is over, that I'll be able to see them again. I'm not saying I haven't seen them, but I mean, I've had to see them from a distance, but be able to actually hug my mother again and hug my father again, and be able to actually have a conversation in the same room with them. Now, there's been a couple occasions in the last couple months that we've actually been in the same area, but we've kept our distance at the same time, because I want them around for a while. So that's an appreciation that I think people have to understand is, life is life is never, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, someone that you're talking to today could be gone tomorrow, and you have to appreciate what they bring to you, what they, the conversations you have with them, the experiences you have with them, because you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. That's what
tomorrow,
this quarantine.
Tomorrow's tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I may, you mentioned what could this do for people? Or I'm a firm believer that God puts trials in front of us every day. The smallest of trials, the biggest of trials, not to necessarily punish us, but to see how well we get through it. I like this phrase: use your strengths to build stronger your weaknesses. I believe that. I'm strong with this, I'm weak with this. Okay, so at this point I'm gonna use those strengths to at least help build up or bring up those weaknesses to help me as a whole get past this obstacle or whatever, or this trial, through this trial, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think it's, God's looking down on us to say, I sometimes will say, he's the great architect, and he's got the blueprints for Tom, and he opens it up one day. Okay. All right, Tommy boy, this is what I'm doing. Let's see how you get out of it, kind of thing. Good analogy for me, kind of thing. And so how am I gonna get through it? I'm not saying, like I said, these last 4 months has been tough on me mentally. I know it. I'm not going to say I'm all peachy keen and ready to zippity doo dah through my way. I have struggles too, that may be different from other people, but I'm going to try to use, where I failed or the failures I'm having or whatever you want to call it, to try and bound up, pull myself up back on my feet, kind of thing. I'll say this: in karate class, I do not allow my students to say, I can't, because you're already setting yourself up for failure when you start saying to yourself, well, I can't do that. I can try. I'll encourage my students to say that. I will try, or I can try. I might be able to do it. That's still positive, as opposed to saying I can't. That's a definite negative, if you will.
That's a cuss word to me. I don't like hearing the word can't, because that's a cuss word. Because you can do anything you put your mind to. I don't believe in that word at all.
I like that. Can I quote you on it?
Yes, you can.
I just hope people will just, like I said, if anything, take some deep breaths. And I know I'm probably repeating myself. I don't mean to, but sometimes to strengthen yourself, you have to do the same things over and over and over again to get stronger with what you're doing. That's karate. That's a big word I use in my class. Again. Oh, come on, sensei, we got to do it again. Well, yes, to better yourself, you know. So I hope everybody can do the positive things again and again, over and over again, as a team unit too. Yes, you do it individually, but you also do it as a team, because we are a team, you know. And I pray that everybody can, you know, just step it up, go that extra step, if you will, where they can, to help one another, to help themselves, set aside any argumentation right now. For now, if you want to argue later, that's fine, but for now, this is a temporary, you know, let's work together to for the common cause, if you will, to let the people research and find the cure, if you will. And while that's being done, we work together to do what we need to do to just be a better team. I'm on a major soapbox. I don't mean to be.
No, you're good. I think, and quote me wrong, Brian, we are hitting that hour in a way.
Yep, we're there.
So if anybody now has any last final thoughts about, this topic, because that was really good, that actually touched home with me. And hopefully people watch this and say, you know what, they're right. So if the floor is out for you guys to say what you guys want, I'm going to say this. I hope people take our words in consideration. I hope people still be positive. This is the reason why I have my Meeks motivation of the day. If anybody, well, of course, Brian, you follow me on Instagram, because, like the COVID did discourage a lot of people. So I felt like, especially me, myself, I had to lift myself because I was going through it myself. So it helped a lot of people during that time. And I still continue to do it, but I hope people still be positive. Know that this is just a trial, and that you can get through, and do what you need to do. Wash your hands, hand sanitizers, 6 feet away, mask on when you go out. It's that simple. Like when you go outside of the store, you can take it off. But I just want everybody's safety. Even if I don't know you, you need to be safe. That's the main thing.
I mean,
So that's my last words.
my final words, I'd say just, take it day by day. Take, all the stuff you hear in media and all the stuff that's out there on social media, just take it with a grain of salt. Look at the sources where you get the information for the virus, and try to find trusted sources, because there's a lot of bad sources out there that you can get this information from, and that's what ends up on social media, and that's where all the bad the negativity comes from. So just just stay positive, take it day by day, and just remember what we'll get through this.
I'll share this. It's like in karate. Bruce Lee had many great statements and sayings that he said over the years when he was here. One of them we use for our school, if you will, and it can be used for life. You take a bowl and you fill it with water. The water becomes the bowl. Then you take the water in that bowl and you pour it into a pitcher. The water takes the shape of the pitcher. The water is you see what I'm getting at? Be the water was his, be the water, my friend. Meaning, be prepared to be able to take shape of the situation at hand to get through it, conquer it to the best of your ability, using your resources, using the help from friends, whatever the case. Be the water. You know, I'll say, you know, pray to God. God's there to watch out for us. Be praying. You know, if you don't know God, find someone that does. Be praying, because God's there to help get us through this.
That was very powerful. That touched my soul. That had me like really emotional. But thank you guys for trusting me, especially Brian in this podcast, very much. I appreciate you guys both. I hope you guys stay safe. I hope that I get to talk to you guys again in person maybe someday.
Yep.
But thank you for joining this. This means a lot to me, honestly.
Stay
No
strong.
problem.
It was good talking
Thank
with
you.
you. Stay strong.
Thank you.
Stay healthy. So.
Thank you. And I hope you guys have a blessed day. And like I said, thank you again very much for this.
All right. Take care.
You too.